Alright guys, here's the lottery part 3. Well everyone, Mr. Summers said, that was done pretty fast, and now we've got to be hurrying a little more to get it done in time. Consulted his next list. Bill, he said, you draw for the Hutchinson family. You got any other households in the Hutchinsons? There's Don and Ava, Mrs. Hutchinson yelled. Make them take their chance. Daughters draw with their husbands' families, Tessie, Mr. Summers said gently. You know that as well as anyone. It wasn't fair, Tessie said. I guess not, Joe, Bill Hutchinson said regretfully. My daughter draws with her family. It's only fair. And I got no other family except the kids. Then as far as drawing for families is concerned, it's you. An explanation. Households is concerned, that's you too, right? Right, Bill Hutchinson said. How well? Mr. Summers asked formally. Hutchinson said, there's Bill Jr. and Nancy and little Dave and Tessie and me. All right then, Mr. Summers said. Harry, have you got their tickets back? Mr. Graves nodded and held up the slips of paper. Put them in the box then, Mr. Summers directed. Then Bill, take Bill's and put it in. I think we ought to start over, Mrs. Hutchinson said as quietly as she could. I could tell you it wasn't fair. You didn't give them enough time to choose. Everybody saw that. Mr. Graves had selected the 5 slips and put them in the box, and he dropped all the papers but those onto the ground where the breeze caught them. Sorry about that. There was a little bit of a page error there. Key slip on my fault. 1 second. Okay. He had selected the 5 slips and put them in the box, and he dropped all the papers but those onto the ground where the breeze caught. Look, buddy, Mrs. Hutchinson was saying to the people around her. Mr. Summers asked, and Bill Hutchinson, with one quick glance around at his wife, children, nodded. Remember, Mr. Summers said, take slips and keep them folded until each person has taken one. Harry, you help little Dave. Mr. Graves took the hand of the little boy, who came willingly with him up to the box. Take a paper out of the box, Davy, Mr. Summers said. Davy put his hand in the box and laughed. Take just one paper, Mr. Summers said. Harry, you hold it for him. Mr. Graves ran and removed the folded paper from the tight fist, while little Dave stood next to him wonderingly. Nancy next, Mr. Summers said. Nancy was 12, and her school friends breathed heavily as she went forward, switching her skirt and stealthily from the box. Bill Jr., Mr. Summers said, and Billy, his face red and his feet overlarge, near knocked the box over as he got it. Tessie, Mr. Summers said. She hesitated for a minute, looking around defiantly, and then set her lips and went to the box. She snatched the paper out and held it behind her. Bill, Mr. Summers, and Bill Hutchinson reached into the box and felt around, bringing his hand out at last with the slip of paper in it. The crowd was quiet. A girl whispered, I hope it's not Nancy, and the sound of the whisper reached the edges of the crowd. It's not the way it used to be, Old Man Warner said clearly. People ain't the way they used to be. All right, Mr. Summers said, open the paper. Harry, you open little Dave's. Mr. Graves opened the slip of paper, and it was right through the crowd as he held it up, and everyone could see that it was blank. Nancy and Bill Jr. opened theirs at the same time, and both beamed and laughed, turning around to the crowd and holding their slips of paper over their heads. Tessie, Mr. Summers said. There was a pause, and then Mr. Summers to Bill Hutchinson, and Bill unfolded his paper and showed it. It was blank. It's Tessie, Mr. Summers said, and his voice was hushed. Show us her paper, Bill. Bill went over to his wife, forced the slip of paper out of her hand. It had a black spot on it. The black spot Mr. Summers had made the night before with a heavy pencil in the coal company office. Bill Hutchinson held it up, and there was a stir in the crowd. All right, folks, Mr. Summers said, let's finish quickly. Although the villagers had forgotten the ritual and lost the original black box, they still remembered to use stones. The pile of stones the boys had made earlier was ready. There were stones on the ground with the blowing scraps of paper that had come out of the box. Delacroix selected a stone, sewed it up with both hands, and turned to Mrs. Dunbar. "Come on," she said, "hurry up." Mr. Dunbar had small stones in both hands, and she said, gasping for breath, "I can't run at all. You'll have to go ahead and I'll catch up with you." The chin had stones already, and someone gave little Davy Hutchinson a few pebbles. Tessie Hutchinson was in the center now. She held her hands out desperately as the villagers moved in on her. "It isn't fair," she said. Someone hit her on the side of the head. Old Man Warner was saying, come on, everyone." Steve Adams was in the front of the crowd of villagers, with Mr. Graves beside him. "It isn't fair, it isn't right," Mrs. Hutchinson screamed, and then they were upon her. All right, so that's the end of the story. Okay, this is one of my favorite stories. It's a really good short story. I think it's interesting. I know it is a little bit of a cliffhanger, but not really. I think you can figure out what's going on. So I want to just go through the questions. And on the form, you'll see that these questions have typed up, and you can answer them there. So number 1, describe the setting. Use specific details from the story in your answer. Remember what setting is. It's where or when something takes place. Okay? Use the details. What does the author tell you about where this story is taking place? Does it tell you that it's taking place a long time ago, recently? What? Explain the feelings of most people in town towards the lottery. How do they feel about what's going on? Are they okay with it? Not okay with it? What evidence is there that the lottery has been going on for a long time? How do you see in the story what in the text tells you that it's been going on? What is Old Man Warner's attitude about those who would like to change things? Okay? Is he okay with that idea? Is he not okay with that? Why? Number 5, explain how the lottery works. Just tell me what's going on. Tell me how they're doing this. In what way is the title of the lottery misleading? Okay, why is that not a great title? Why would the author want to trick the reader by having a misleading title? Think about what it means to win a lottery. For us, for you or I, what does it mean to win a lottery? When you win the lottery here in the story, is it the same result? Okay. I did one on the form, on the classroom. What did you think of the story? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What would you change? All right. Again, reach out to me if you have trouble. Okay. Good luck. I'll talk to you soon.